class, we're about to start lesson 14, part A, body mass index. Now, the body mass index is a measure of body fat based on height and weight. It is a standard tool for helping judge the amount of body fat you have. Carrying excess body fat puts people at greater risk for health problems such as heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and stroke. BMI can be calculated using a simple ratio based on a person's height and weight. Your BMI is considered to be in the normal range if it is between 18.5 and 25. BMI is considered a better predictor of health than weight alone. Jot down your ideas about why this statement would be true, then share with another student. Okay, the reason why I would just give you one example is the BMI also takes into account your height when it's determining your body mass index versus just your weight. Because a person that is like 4 feet tall that weighs 200 pounds, we know would be very unhealthy. Whereas a person that's like 6'6" weighing 200 pounds wouldn't be so bad. So that is an example that you could use. Okay, now we have here our objectives for the lesson. You understand that substituting for one variable can yield a simplified formula. You will be able to explicitly write out the order of operations to evaluate a given formula. BMI can be calculated with the following formula, where the weight is in pounds and the height is in inches. And okay, class, we see here that we have the BMI is equal to the weight divided by height squared times 703. Now, what I did here was I added in an extra page in order for me to be able to write out the problem because, as you see here, we don't have that much space. So we look here at number 2. It says Joe is 5 feet 10 inches tall. Substitute his height into the formula. Okay, first of all, in this formula, they tell us that the height is measured in inches. They tell us that the height is measured in inches. So we have to change this 5 feet 10 inches to all inches. So we can go off to the side here. Now with this 5 feet, what we would need to do is do conversion. So we have 5 feet, and we'll put that over 1, multiplied by, we know it's 12 inches and 1 foot. And remember, since we have feet in the numerator, we must have feet in the denominator here in order to simplify out. So these feet will simplify out, and this will give you 60 over 1, which is 60 inches. Now, because he was 5 feet 10 inches tall, this only takes care of the 5 feet. So we have to add the 10 inches to the 60 inches, so he will be considered 70 inches. Okay, now we want to go through and substitute. Okay, so we have our BMI is equal to the weight we don't know. We could leave that as W. And the height will be 70. And we will square it. And then times 703. Now, with our BMI, because they want this to be simplified, 70 squared is equal to 4,900. So our denominator here would be 4,900. We have our weight times 703. Now, if we bring this all together, we have our BMI is equal to, we could put this over 1. It'll be 703 times the weight, all over 4,900. And then that's inches, and it's squared. And so this will be our answer for number 2. Now we come here to number 3. You have created a new formula that applies only to people who are Joe's height. What are the only variables that remain in your new formula? Okay, now the only variables that remain in the new formula is the BMI and the weight. Those are the only 2 things we don't know. So for number 3 is the BMI and the weight. Now for number 4, it says using your simplified formula, calculate Joe's BMI if he weighs 175 pounds. How does Joe's BMI change if he gains 10 pounds, if he loses 10 pounds? So, basically, they want us to use this formula here for the following weights. They want us to use 175 pounds. They also want us to use, let's see, go back here to this pen. They also want us to do it for 185 and also 165. So I'm writing down all of the weights here. So the formula would be BMI is equal to 703 times his weight divided by 4,900 square inches. And I need to write this again because I need to scroll this up so I will have more room. All right, so now we're going to substitute. We're going to start off with the 175. And what I'll do, I'll list this as A, B, and C. So you'll know which one I'm doing for which. So for A, we know that's for 175. And remember, this is still part of problem number 4. So we will have the BMI is equal to 703 times 175 divided by 4,900 square inches. Now what we could do, we could take our calculator and multiply this out. So now, let me get the calculator. Bring a calculator into the mix here. So we have our calculator. So we would take 703 times 175, and that gives us 123,025. And we would divide that by 4,900, and that would give us 25.10 and so on. But if you notice, BMI is typically calculated with 1 digit behind the decimal. So let me write this out. We have our BMI is equal to, the numerator would be 123,025 divided by the 4,900. And that will give us 25.1, which would be our BMI. Okay, now remember, that's for 175. Now we will go through and do it for 185. So we have B. So we have our BMI is equal to 703 times 185 divided by 4,900. Now we will take our 703. 703 times 185. That will give us 130,055. That still would be divided by 4,900. And so our BMI would equal to, so we divide this by 4,900. So our BMI would be 26.5. Now, so I could go sideways here. So now we would do our C. Our C would be our BMI is equal to, we can go back here, it'll be 703 times 165 all over 4,900. So our BMI would equal to, so let's take 703 times 165, which would give us 115,995. Now when we divide this in our calculator by 4,900, this gives us 23.7. So it's approximately 23.7 is our BMI. And that's it for problem number 4. Now, one thing I didn't do here, which I should have done in the other problems, the answer should have been an approximation symbol. So you can go back and correct that. All right, so now we go back here. It says number 5, Discuss with your group how you arrived at Joe's BMI value. For example, did you multiply, add, subtract, etc.? And what did you do first? Outline the steps you took to calculate the BMI when given the height and weight. Okay, basically what we did here, we substituted, multiplied, and then divided. So again, you would say that you substituted, you multiplied, and you divided. And that's how you got the BMI. Okay, now, that is it for 14A. Now we go here to 14B. Now 14B is you're supposed to be trying to get your target weight. Have you ever seen a video running backwards? What happens? For example, if the original video shows a person opening the door, getting into the car, and starting the car, what does the reverse video look like? It's basically the opposite of everything you see. And it also looks a little funny as well. Now it says here, objectives for the lesson. You will understand that multiplication and division are inverse operations. Solving for a variable includes isolating it by undoing the operations in the equation. And you will be able to solve for a variable in an equation. Explicitly write out the order of operations to solve a given equation. Now if you notice here, we're still dealing with BMI. So we already know this part as far as the formula. Now it says, recall that a person is considered to be overweight if his or her BMI is less than, actually it's supposed to be underweight. If his or her BMI is less than 18.5, a person is considered to be overweight if BMI is between 25 and 30, and obese if BMI is over 30. Now it says here for number 1, Philip is 6 feet 3 inches tall. What is Philip's BMI formula? Determine how much he will weigh for each of the following BMI values. Record your steps of part A in words. Okay, now, first of all, I'm not going to require you all to record this in words. I would just have you all record this in deeds. I will say the words. If you want to rewind this video, you can, and you can write the words. Okay, so part A. They tell us, first of all, the BMI, again, is his weight, and I'll just put W, over his height squared, times 703. So this ends up becoming 703 times the weight over the height squared. Okay, now we have to take this information. 1, we know that he's 6 feet 3 tall, 6 feet 3 inches tall. So we'll go over to the side. We'll take 6 feet and change that to inches because our height is in inches here. So we'll put 6 feet over 1. Our feet will simplify out, and that will give us 72 inches plus the 3 inches that he had, because he was 6 feet 3 inches. So he is 75 inches. Okay, so now we know the height. So we know the height is 75 inches. And we know that's squared. Now we need to take our calculator and multiply 75 times itself, or we could just do 75 squared, and that would give us 5,625. So we have 703 times the weight, all over 5,625 square inches. Now the only two things that we don't have here is the BMI and the weight. Now they give us the BMI here, which is 18.5. So we'll substitute in 18.5 for the BMI. We have 703 times the weight over 5,625. Now we got to get W by itself. So we will multiply each side by the reciprocal. So yes, after we multiply each side by the reciprocal, that would give us 104,000, as according to the calculator here. It'll be 104,062.5 divided by 73. And all of these here will simplify out and leave W. So your weight will be approximately 148 pounds because they want us to round to the nearest whole number. And that will be your final answer for that